Hi guys, so I finished eating, and so what I want to do is I didn't go through the whole lecture. I wanted to, and I'm not going to do it today. I went through about 10 minutes of it, took some notes, and so I'll share those with you. And then what I'm going to do is I'll do the rest of the lecture in terms of like learning about it, over like I don't know, 4 or 5 day period. And those videos will be coming out shortly. After that's done though, because the lectures, I only have about 35 minutes, 40 more minutes of this lecture. Once I've finished that, I want to start doing things more fun. I mean, there's only so much I can talk about, like the lecture format of anxiety and depression. And because this is what these videos are about. Choking phobia is an anxiety disorder. And so, I also have a history of depression. So that's where I want to kind of keep these videos on and about. I also want to make it not boring. So the way I do that is, I think I've kind of said what I've had to say about thinking errors. After about, I think I finished the 6th or 7th video that will be upcoming. So this will be cognitive distortions 3, and then there'll be about 6 or 7 more videos, and that will cover everything about thinking errors. And that's where it will be. I'll make that into a playlist for people who just want like the kind of Cliff Notes version of therapy and psychology, and you want quick answers. I'll try my best to make a playlist. They'll just have cognitive distortions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It'll be about probably 10 or something. And it'll go through each cognitive distortion, and it'll go through, therapy, the impetus of what therapy is, what the impetus of cognitive behavioral therapy is, specifically versus, let's say, talk therapy, and then what exposure therapy is, which is a kind of subset of cognitive behavioral therapy, and then how you hope to, do it, the problems facing it, and kind of like real-world examples of what happens afterwards. So that's what my next 6 or 7, 8, probably 10 videos are going to be about. With that being said, after these videos are done, my plan is to basically have a fun type of videos where I'm going to basically watch like things about anxiety, like Annie's Obsessed. I'm a big fan of that. There's a lot of stuff like Dr. Phil. Like, we could either watch it together, or more than likely it'll be like a reaction review type thing where like I'll watch it with you guys and I'll kind of react to it. I may like pause it at certain points to talk about certain things, because I think that's the best way to kind of get people more engaged into my videos, is having things that are like more professionally done. Okay, so let's just finish up. He was talking about cognitive distortions, and it says here, I made this note: unless you have magical powers, you don't know what other people are thinking. I'll give you an example. So the example I gave was that it's the same example the lecturer gave, and that's why I wrote it down. It's the same example the lecturer gave. I thought my admitting receptionist did not like me because she never smiled. Came off cold, and overall I felt intimidated by her. In reality, she could have been busy, tired, a trainee, or that's just how the way she is. There's nothing necessarily wrong in what she did. What I mean by saying about that is, the lecturer gave this example through mind reading that you think that this person is, for example, thinking a certain thing about you, like, oh, you're weak because you have to go to a therapist, or you're a bad person, or you're making my day bad, or you're busy, or you're incompetent, or any negative thought that may come to your mind, and you assume this person is thinking it about you. In reality, you're never going to know that. Unless you have magical powers, unless you've been blessed with some sort of ability to read a person's mind, you'll have zero understanding what that person is actually thinking. So that's basically what mind reading is, thinking you somehow can read a person's mind, and in reality, there's no way. As I said, there's alternative things. For example, if she looks busy and she's always on the phone and she's not acknowledging you and giving you eye contact, it's more than likely she has to answer the phone. I mean, that's her job. I mean, and you may think she's incompetent, or she's being passive aggressive, or she's being weird because she's answering the phone after every 2 or 3 rings. Perhaps she's been told to do that. Perhaps what she's supposed to do. So that's just one thing about mind reading. You gotta understand that people, you're never really going to know what the other person is thinking. A lot of people make these assumptions, like, I know what you're thinking. Or I know people very close to me, for example, say, I know, I'm in your head, I know exactly what you're thinking. which is quite interesting. I know parents use that a lot with children. Hey, I know what you're up to and everything. In reality, though, there's zero evidence that that's true. Next thing I want to say is that the most common thinking error people have who have anxiety and depression is called overgeneralization. And I want to get a little bit into that today and more into tomorrow. Overgeneralization is basically a extreme sort of, thinking error, sort of thought that occurs in an individual that, where he ends up making broad conclusions, and that's the words the lecturer used, right? Broad or far broad conclusions that are negative and are far beyond what the situation indicates. So they're negative. That's something I learned today. I thought overgeneralization could I try to not overgeneralize. Period. He's saying it's mostly negative overgeneralizations that bother people with anxiety. Possibly. So as I said, overgeneralization is simply that you have this far, broad sort of conclusion that is far beyond what the situation would indicate. You would see things that aren't necessarily there. You would be connecting dots that aren't necessarily there. It may be sort of, I don't want to say conspiratorial. It's more of like, you just don't. There's no easy way to say it except the way I said it. He was going to give you an example. We'll get to the example tomorrow. It sounds fairly self-explanatory. Overgeneralization is when you overgeneralize, for example, data sets, situations, environments, people, thoughts. Mostly when you go into a situation, you assume certain things about certain people based on the way they talk or the way they dress or the way they talk to you. And in reality, you're generalizing. You have no evidence. You have to look at it. You have to balance it in terms of like, sure, there's a for column for your thought. There's also a con column. What evidence could balance that? For example, that but I mean that's just another thinking area that we want to get through. He'll go for the example tomorrow. I'm not going to tell you an example because it just seems so self-explanatory what overgeneralization is. You're just walking into a situation, like a social situation, and you overgeneralize based on small tidbits of information, like based on how a person dresses or how a person talks. You assume they're from this country, or they have this sort of value system, and you overgeneralize. You don't know, for example, alternative balanced thoughts. Perhaps they're just trying this stuff out. Perhaps they like messing with people. Perhaps they they're one of the people you don't know who wear these things and not necessarily are from these people. Like the world is very vague in terms. Very varied. I mean, it's vague too. That's another video. The world is very varied in terms of the multiplicity people. So, I mean, just because a person looks like that person in your category doesn't necessarily mean they fit that category. All right. So we'll start overgeneralization tomorrow, more so. And after about 10 of these videos, trust me, I'm going to have more fun videos. I just want to get through like the slotch, what do they call it? The slop? The slop. That stuff that you just don't want to eat. You just want to get through it and move on. I want to get through that slop so I can make the videos more popular, more interesting. I mean, the lecture part of the videos are very good because they have a nice sort of like, understanding. People understand what I'm saying and kind of like, okay, and he's making sense. I want the videos also to be like popping at you, like fun. Like, hey, this is me having anxiety. Like me, so this is intervention, Annie's intervention, and this is what I think about this and this and this. I remember when I was here, and I remember this thought. I want things to be like more fun, more like, people have like videos of like reaction videos. I don't want to make a reaction video because I want to keep the psychology channel. What I want to do is have like a video that I would react to that's about psychology, that's like made by like A&E. That's the main one I want to make. A&E's obsessed. I always talk about them, how they're such a great show. The producers are very great. And I know I'm against sensationalism and dramatics. It's just, as I've said this before, and I'll say it again, these people really were the most extreme people that have OCD, so there is no sensationalism, really. I mean, the only sensationalism would probably be their sensationalism if they're on the camera and they want to, like, look good on a camera. So I want to start that. I definitely want to start that soon. So who knows? Perhaps it will. I have a feeling this will take less than 10 videos. It's probably gonna take like 3 or 4. I want to push it and hopefully, I want to do 2, and then I'll see if I want to do 2 more. I want to do 2 and see how much I'm doing in 2. Right? Like I've already done 2, so I'm gonna do 2 more and see how much I've done, and then hopefully it won't be too long. Because I think it's more interesting to watch, like, more professional people talk about therapy than I do. And then I can, like, pause the video and be like, oh, yeah, so this is an example of mind reading, or this is an example of emotional reasoning, or this is an example of overgeneralization, right? And then, or for example, show them, like, this is how an exposure is done. This is what you feel, right? And this is what you, right, should be thinking with a therapist. So that's kind of my purpose now, to hopefully, like, have you guys understand therapy for free, right? I don't charge anything for these videos. This is all free. Alright guys, remember guys, stay with it.